All right. Well, I'm just going to click over to
Well,
We're Live and hope that we're live.
I don't know if we are. Hold on. Um
Well,
seeing up. Yep, no, we're live. We're live.
nice. All right. Well, hey, we're still live. We lived for one more week on YouTube before getting kicked off. It's great. Modern Relics Podcast. You know the drill. I'm Angel. He's Lucky. We are back for another week. What's going on, man?
Not much. Just living the dream as always, cruising through life one foot at a time. And yeah, it's been a decent week. Work picked up. We had our Friday the 13th weekend as well, which is our first of a double hitter month to month, February and March. And February 13th, for those that don't know, are tattoo holidays. We, for generations, have now celebrated it as a tattoo shop holiday where we do Friday the 13th deals, and it becomes a zoo for normally for one day for most shops, but for us we do it all weekend to maximize the amount that we can pull in, but also allow people who can't get in on Fridays to get in on Saturday and Sunday as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a marathon for us, and so we all were exhausted by the end of Saturday night, and a few of us drudged our ways in there on Sunday to finish off the remaining stragglers for the event. But it was productive. But
Nice.
on top of that, just in general, like over the course of the last couple, like 2, 3 months, it was the slowest winter I've ever had
Yeah,
in
we talked about
27
that a
years of
little bit,
tattooing.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And within a matter of, you know, about a week and a half, I have gone from trying to fill an entire week and hitting up people, making sure people remembered where I was, and doing what I do to fill my schedule, to now being booked slightly over a month out. And so people just came out of nowhere and started
Nice.
filling my schedule. So feeling a little bit of relief there. Pretty happy about that. Outside of that, yeah, just kind of moving forward in the week. I do my security shifts at church
How's that
on
going?
Wednesdays and Sundays. It's going well.
Yeah.
Apparently, apparently with very low effort becoming quite the anomalous superhero in that
Nice.
situation that I didn't realize. Um, Word spread very quickly that I was on the team and everybody was very excited. I don't see myself as somebody that I just see myself as a warm body who knows faces.
Right.
Um,
They see
so
Jason Bourne, though.
yeah, it's
Nice.
very weird. And to be fair, they did joke that I brought the median age down.
Okay.
Um, at 47, apparently I brought it down quite a bit because most
I
of those
mean,
guys
I
are
know that
in
feeling.
their
I did that to my neighborhood when I moved here.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's very similar age range as your neighborhood. It's all
Yeah.
these 60s, and they're all in their 60s and 70s, and ex law enforcement and stuff like that for the most part. But they they apparently I went through training faster than anybody has ever done it in the history of the church. I didn't realize that. It was something that they were all blown away with. They're like, "You're already done?" I was like, "I don't know. I just apparently they would do like for training, you have to train on 10 different positions. And they would do most people would do like one position a week maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took them a while to get through the training. I did 3 services on 2 Sundays in a row and then 2 Wednesday nights and knocked it out. And so like they were just like, "What?"
Nice.
Like, and I just thought that was like, I wasn't even trying. I was just like, "Oh, this is just what you do. You just get it done and get it out of the way." And they were all super blown away by it. And now apparently I have earned a reputation as, we had a really amazing man, and he's still with us. He's just retired from this position as well. But his name is Don Bradway, and he's just a wonderful, amazing human being. And he was part of the security team for a long time, but he was the front door greeter security guy. And Don has always been the face of the front door of our church,
Mm-hmm.
and he is a warm, welcoming man, but very sharp. And so he was the perfect face for that spot. And shook everybody's hand, looked them in the eyes, greeted everybody, but also was very keen to potential problems or problem people. And they have kind of de facto put me in that spot because I have similar attributes, which Don is more than pleased to have me there because he has a soft spot for me. He loves me. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but he recognizes that I have the same skill sets that he has in that regard, where I'm very social and I'm very capable of being a warm, welcoming figure, but at the same time, can establish um, a threat when necessary. And so it takes a certain type of person to be that particular role. And I think they had other guys that were filling it, but just not in the same way Don was,
Sure.
And with him retiring, I think that's kind of where they're trying to put me because it's front facing. I get to see everyone who comes in and out of that building. And that
Mm-hmm.
being said, I know all of the bad guys in town who might be coming there for any nefarious reason. And I've caught a couple of weird things already, which is something that apparently has also impressed them. So, no, it's going really well. And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying being there and being of service, of being able to be helpful in ways that is of service to the church. I'm also very grateful that my friend Mike, who is the head of security there, finally, after 10 months, gets to sit in a service with his wife, which
Mm-hmm.
he hadn't been able to do, and now he can. So, it's been going good. I've been very happy with what's going on there. So, but outside of that, I'm trying to think if anything going on with the kids. Nothing. Oliver's getting straight A's at
Nice.
college. At college,
Off to college. Yeah.
off to college, uh, and but yeah, outside of that, I think my wife's off to a city council meeting tonight, and that's about it. It's been kind of just a work week,
Yeah.
regular kind of work week. Lots of tattoos. So, what about you? How's your week been?
I still want you to come up with like a bunch of proposed changes to the security team or merit badges or something. Uh,
Gold star system.
pieces of flair. It's gonna something. Be like,
Yeah.
check me out. Uh, I've been exhausted all week, man. We do the show on Tuesday, so I mean since last Tuesday. It's just been like we're having crazy weather right now, which I'm glad I got a lot of stuff done, you know, out in the yard and around the house and stuff like that in the last few days, because the winds are just crazy high right now, which is bizarre. It usually gets windy in April, but I had a 96-gallon trash can blow over my fence and into the pool.
Oh
That was
wow.
so like the winds are definite.
Yeah.
But everybody had like filthy yards immediately with everyone else's trash strewn all over the world because the winds picked up right after trash day, so all the empty cans tipped over and started flying down the road and stuff. And then it got really bad today, off and on. So if I lose power and the pod abruptly ends, apologies in advance. But the wind then blew all the trash and shit in our yards completely out. So now everything looks clean again, which is great. And I didn't have to do anything this time.
You just got to wait for the second gust.
Yeah. Just
Did it
inspiring
blow
to
away
look at.
any? Did it blow away any neighbor dogs?
No, unfortunately, it did not.
Oh.
Um, it needs to. There's a couple dogs that needs to blow away. Good evening, Slants23. Welcome back. But no, it's just I've just been tired. I don't know if it's the whack-a-mole season stuff because it was super nice, then it got really cold again, and now it's super windy, and I think it's gonna get cold in the evenings this next week, and then it's gonna ramp up and get really, really warm right up until it gets boiling. But just run down. That's about it. Haven't
Yeah.
slept well. When I don't sleep well normally, but the winds and the dogs and the environment. It's just made it even worse last few days. But otherwise, I mean, kind of slow going. There hasn't been a whole lot to report. I got new tires, so I fixed the nail hole and got a new set of tires. But that's like the highlight of my week. You know what I mean? So nothing really.
Speaking of which, we did find out that our tires were under warranty, and we were supposed to hear back from yesterday or today.
Oh yeah, it's been a while.
It just occurred to me that we haven't. So
yeah,
I'm gonna get on that tomorrow. So, but yeah, they were supposed to call us back. They have not.
Well,
so.
Yeah, your situation kind of inspired me to buy. There's a certain brand, I'm sure several do this, where they'll give you like a X 1,000-mile warranty, and if you have a blowout, they'll just pay to replace it, kind of thing. And because 9 out of 10 times people don't leverage that warranty, but I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea because I'm tired of patching holes in my tires, dude. So
yeah, for sure,
getting out of control. But yeah, other than that, I mean, just hasn't been much going on, to be fair. Just a deluge of crazy on the work front, but outside of that, not much.
Yeah. Well, we've got a little bit of crazy coming to Idaho.
You do, yeah. I heard one of your and your wife's favorite politicians of all time is coming to your home state.
He is.
What is he? The czar, the governor, the president, the king of Minnesota? What's his title now?
Yeah, probably depending on the audience, all of the above. You know, pick your poison. Little column A, little column B.
My personal vote for president of the United States, Tim Walz, is on his way there.
Yeah, for whatever reason, the Idaho Democratic Party, I
didn't vote for Tim Walz. Don't aggregate that.
Has decided to, of all people, in this current environment of what's going on in his current state with the enormous amounts of fraud that he's embroiled in, for whatever reason, they decided that their keynote speaker this year would be Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. For those who don't know, he also was the Kamala Harris pick for vice president when she ran and lost, not only on her own merits, but on his as well. They lost on both of their merits.
Well, and side note, didn't he just, within the last 6 months or so, I think we talked about it on the show, like announced that he would not seek any form of reelection because he was trying to cover up through PR and slowly backing away all of the crazy shit that he was basically accused of and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
And he's their keynote speaker. That's the
amount of controversies that this guy has completely wrapped himself in. Not only prior to even all of the daycare fraud that he's attached to, that got exposed by that what's that kid's name, Sheely or whatever. He went around and they've been exposing not millions but billions of dollars worth of fraud.
There was nutty speculation. There was like wild theories about him being tied to like assassination attempts or like hiring a hitman to take care of a guy or something. Like, it was crazy for a long time. And his response was to slowly back away. Like, that doesn't seem with just a cool off period, and then we'll throw him up as the keynote for the DMC in Idaho. That's great.
And I think it's because even though the chaos in his state, in the Twin Cities, of what's been going on in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and the riots and the chaos and the push against immigration law enforcement, and him backing them and saying that he's going to create a civil war. I mean, that was his words. He is completely embroiled in insanity, not just controversy, but insanity. And they decided, the Idaho Democratic Party decided to make him their keynote speaker at their yearly gala. Governor Tim Walz to deliver keynote remarks at Frank and Bethine Church Gala. So the Idaho Democratic Party chair, Lauren Necochea, released the following statement in response to the killing. They have decided this is the guy. This is the guy that we're gonna pick. He's gonna be our guy.
Does it say when this is going down?
Let me find out here. Events. It doesn't at the moment. Upcoming. Where is? Let's see, Tim Waltz. Hold, please.
Yeah. What a bad idea. Just generally speaking.
Well, it's a terrible idea. It's for some reason it's not coming up on their website.
Yeah.
Their website sucks. So weird that a Democratic website in the state of Idaho would not be up to par. But let's see. I'm gonna look up Idaho Democrats on Facebook because I would imagine they're all old and that's what they use.
Sounds like an award-winning. Well, and what a state to have Tim Waltz come to.
Right, of all places. Like, you think that it was wise to bring him here, but that it's going to go over. Okay, big news. Governor Tim Waltz will deliver the keynote on March 7th in Boise. So down south, I mean, if he is going to be welcomed in this state, it would be in Boise for sure. He'd have a hard time anywhere north of, half the state. So, but the fact that they, in their infinite wisdom, thought that this would be a good idea, I can't imagine that guy's going to be able to step in this state and from airport to event and from event back to airport, he isn't going to have a bunch of Idaho crazy, rednecky type of right wingers like protesting his every step, and out in front of their building. And I'm sure they're probably looking for some type of gotcha moment and to antagonize and try to capture it on film. And I would imagine that, unfortunately, our side will probably take the bait and they will probably jump right in and go balls to the wall and make fools of themselves on camera and do something stupid.
Yeah.
Start
interrogating him about his military history and stuff.
Right. I would say just antagonistic to a level that will
general shitheadery. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. So I think that we're in a position here where we either take smart action on it and be very careful with how we handle a protest of this man, because he has no business being here and the Democrats should know better, but they don't because they never know better. But
it says no soliciting and they stand there and knock on the door. Good times.
But yeah, they should either do this with a little bit more wisdom or starve it of oxygen entirely. Do not give him the press. Do not give him the air. Do not give him, completely starve him of oxygen. Do not give them what they're looking for, which is the crashing of ideologies where they can paint themselves to look like victims and good guys. And it is in their playbook, and we tend to emotionally waltz, for lack of a better term, right into it.
Why is it okay for the leftists to gather en masse and scream and loot and protest and vandalize, but Republicans can't act a fool when they have a keynote speaker? What do you suppose that is?
I think that there is
I think it's bad form on both sides to be on the record about it, but I'm just curious because
totally, but
it's
why is
fair
there a
play for
green
them to
light
do
for
it.
them?
Yeah.
Right. Um, because there's standards set for people who have standards. If you don't have standards, then you're allowed to get away with whatever you want. And I mean, it's that is a philosophical concept from childhood on. You know, you have standards for children, they act appropriately to those standards. If you don't have standards for them, they don't act appropriately, but we kind of expect that behavior from them, so it is what it is. um, Now, I think that we should operate the United States and the media within the United States as a very fine dining restaurant. And if you've got an unruly child, the unruly child is asked to leave. You know, plain and simple. Like it should be kind of handled in that same regard.
I wish that analogy were true, bro. What you just said, I wish that was the truth. I went to a restaurant, not a fancy one, but a decent one, recently, and there were people that brought their dogs in there. I was like, dude, what the hell are we doing? I hate when restaurants let you bring your dog in. It's so gross.
Those were Tim Waltz voters.
Yeah. I just like, come on. Get out of here.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, you are right. I just think, I don't know what I think. I'll hog the spotlight. I wanted to go into politics when I retired. I don't anymore. I want nothing to do with it, local or otherwise. I don't give a shit. City council, no thanks. You know what I mean? Like librarian trying to quit.
And that's
no.
And that's the thing is that on a microcosm here in Kootenai County, we have a lot of great people who should run for things, but they're like, absolutely not. I'm not touching that cesspool with a 10-foot pole. I have way too much integrity to even deal with that. And the people who actively are running for it typically, and it's not always, like I'm being kind of general in
I mean, it's politics.
Concept.
You can paint with a bit of a broad brush.
Yeah, most of the people who do end up running are the wrong people because they don't have the wisdom for it. They don't have the background for it. All they have is a desire to do, and really an ego to think that they're going to do better than the people who are sitting there right there. You know, it's all ego driven. It's all power driven, and it's not by the best of the best. We keep throwing, even on a local level, crap people at these, like,
people that couldn't get famous on TikTok, so they thought they'd get famous by being a politician.
Well, we were in that situation with the Coeur d'Alene mayor where we had 4 duds. We had 4 duds, and we had to pick the least dud of all of them, which was not a good pick. But we got lambasted for saying he was the best pick, you know, in Dan Gookin. And it was like, yeah, he's the best of 4 turds. It doesn't mean he's not a turd. None of them should be mayor. None of them should have any control over the levers of this city. But here we are. We have to pick one of these 4 because no one's putting up good candidates because they're either tired of the fight because they've been in it for so long, or they see corruption on both sides. They see it within the with, you know, the obvious leftist Democrat kind of concept, and they're like, I'm obviously not that, but I'm also not going to align myself with these Republicans that are acting and behaving very similarly. Like, I just want nothing to do with either one of those. And then once I get there, then it's just going to be a brutal fight, and they're going to drag my family and my history and everything through the mud and try to pick it apart and try to find little things that they might be able to blow up into bigger things, and I'm going to have to try to sit, you know, I'm going to be on defense at all times. It's not worth it. So all the people with any integrity, with any, you know, like, people have asked my wife when she's going to start, when she's going to run for anything, and she's like, dude, I don't want my kids to have to go through that, so we're waiting till the kids are older. But even then, she's like, my role is behind the scenes. I'm much better, you know, I'm not going to do well if public facing, I'm going to be abrasive. I'm going to say stuff I shouldn't say.
Mhm.
I'm better in kind of a background role where I can do research digging and I can do all of um the analytics in the background and help people rather than be the forward facing person, right?
Yeah.
And so, and then people ask me and I'm like, you don't understand. I do not have the temperament for it. And I know that about myself. I
Mhm.
know that I am combative by nature. I will not play nice. I will say dumb stuff because it's just true. And I don't realize that the filter should, I mean, I can be diplomatic, but that turns off pretty quickly when I'm angry.
Mhm.
And so, and on top of that, like, I have to battle the social element of what I do for a living. I'm going to be constantly under a microscope,
Right.
all sorts of other things, but there's, you know, the people who really want that power are most of the time the people that we don't. The people who are the ones that we really should have up there are the people who don't want it at all,
Exactly.
and
Does Coeur d'Alene allow for write-in candidates, or do you have to be sponsored for
no,
mayor?
do you have to there are you can have a write-in candidate, yes. However, it has to be within a certain deadline that you um, allow a write-in to be on the actual ticket.
Yeah.
So
This.
if you didn't make the original one, you
Yeah.
have like a secondary one that you can do a write-in for that person.
So this is my campaign idea. What if you got 2,000 people to write themselves in as candidates by the deadline? So I'm not joking at all. It's funny, but I'm not joking. The ballot list is like 19 or 20 pages long, and all of them are listed as independent. So now it's a numbers to average game where at some point people that are just like, I don't know, enough like who cares votes is going to be like, please welcome Mayor Todd. It's just some dude. It's just
yeah,
like, I don't
that they
know
don't
what I'm
know. They're
doing. And
like,
they're
does
like,
anybody know anything about this
perfect.
guy? Yeah,
Todd, nobody
yeah,
before you knew what they were doing either. So here's a
yeah,
book, and here's the level of transparency you need, and go get them, Tiger. I think that would
yeah.
be great. Like
Yeah, basically flood the vote pool with just
2,000 options for mayor would be a dream come true.
yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I don't know if they have even a limit of how many people can run at
I
one time. I
don't
don't think they
think they're allowed to have a limit. That's why I was asking
no.
if you can write somebody in. I don't think there is a limit for it
Yeah.
because then you would be I
I
don't know
know
what the
that
word
there
is,
are
like biased against other candidates, and they can't allow that. So if you have one, you're supposed to allow them all. I think it'd be great.
I know that there are limitations to write-ins. I just don't know exactly what the Idaho statutes say to that.
I mean, that would
So
make national news. That would be
it
funny.
really would. It'd be
Like
great. It'd be
2,000
hilarious.
concerned citizens jumped up and said, I could do this job better. And yeah, one of them's bound to win. Who knows?
But anyway, yeah. So on March 7th, we're gonna get the illustrious Mr. Tim Walz down in Boise,
Did you get your tickets yet?
giving us advice on how to properly operate a state. Apparently,
Yeah, that was my real question was, do we have any idea what the premise of their campaigning strategies are that would allude to what his keynote remarks might be on that topic?
it would almost assuredly be uh, centered around immigration. Assuredly, like there's no other, the ice battles that are going on in his state right now. We've got a small contingent of Democrats in this state that are fighting for the idea of allowing, and this is hilarious because they're fighting at the state level in front of cameras, saying that they think that we should allow illegal immigration, obviously, because who else is going to run all the farm? Like who else are we going to hire for all the farming down here? And
That's a pretty weak
some
argument.
some of the legislators and senators that are there actually are these farmers.
Mm-hmm.
So they're tied into, big ag money, which we have. And there's a lot of big ag money down there. And they're the ones pushing as lobbyists for them to stand in front of the people and say, yeah, I personally am going to suffer if we don't allow illegal immigration because we're providing these families and these, jobs for all of these people.
Not elevate your hiring practices, not get more competitive with wages to make your employment status way more desirable, not bring a radical new approach called delivering a product and service on time and under budget for your constituents and thus your community by increasing the employment rates and the competitive set of big ag in that area. No, instead, we should lobby for opening the borders up so that we have free labor or close to free labor.
We should lobby for exploitation in the guise of compassion.
Beautiful.
You're exploiting these people, you're essentially going, we want slave labor here. We want to pay these people far less and not even care what kind of living conditions that they're in or anything else. It doesn't matter to us as long as we get cheap labor out of them. That's all but we're gonna wrap it up and put a bow on it and call it compassion.
Are they
That's what that is.
Appropriately raked over the coals for those arguments by the opposition?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's why they're rallying the troops around the guy who's holding the flag the highest, which is Tim Walz.
What a poster child to have for such an argument. I'm sure he will bring the most informed and decisive levels of arguments and rally the troops for his, for the Democratic base out there. That sounds incredible.
Yeah. 3 cheers for Idaho Democratic Party, right?
Yikes, man.
The infinite wisdom of the minority party in our state. And this is the best they got. So, which is why they run as Republicans, because the people who are actually running their true party are complete idiots. Wow. So the ones that are slightly smarter recognize that they can't win because of this type of decision making. So they're going to pretend to be Republicans. And so that's why we have so many rhinos in this state, is because of exactly that. They're like, oh, this is even the rhinos are like, this is a bad move. Like we vote with you guys 9 times out of 10, but this is stupid. Even the rhinos are saying that.
I hope this gets absolutely made fun of for a long time. It could only increase your state's opposition to the Democratic Party. So there you go. Good God, man. Oh, hey, though, speaking of political stuff, the SAVE Act lost. It didn't pass. No, I'm kidding. It passed, which is good news. It's something we covered a whole show on. And then a follow-up with the wife. I'm sure she's probably jumping up and down, doing backflips at this. I know there was a lot of effort put into that. How did that go?
So apparently the SAVE Act, let me pull this back up. SAVE Act, formerly known as the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, is a proposed U.S. bill that would require individuals to provide documentary proof of U.S. citizenship, such as a passport, birth certificate, or naturalization certificate, when registering to vote in federal elections. So this affects only federal elections, just so everyone's aware. Which is honestly, the first, we need to pass this on a federal level so that the states will follow in this particular case. Hopefully most states do. I can't imagine all of them will, but at least on a federal level, we won't be getting congressmen and senators and judges and in a presidential election or whatever, we won't be getting anybody who isn't a citizen you have to provide identification. And that's all it was asking, which was common sense, I don't know, 15 years ago. But in the last 15 years, it seems to have become a giant question mark for whatever reason. Like, why is it a question mark? It shouldn't be. But let's see, it amends the National Voter Registration Act of 1993 and aims to prevent non-citizens from voting through studies. Though studies show such cases are extremely rare, which is obviously, this is an AI rundown. So they're like, yeah, it doesn't actually ever happen, which we have been proven.
None of that actually is real. That's all disinformation.
Right.
You know, we don't have congressional sessions dedicated to with proof showing the chips in the 2020 machines.
Right.
No, that's all hogwash.
So the House passed the Save America Act on February 11th of 2026 by a vote of 218 to 213, with only one Democrat, Henry Cuellar, supporting it. Excuse me. It now awaits Senate action where it faces strong Democratic opposition. It is unlikely to pass due to the 60 vote threshold needed to overcome a filibuster.
Right.
Some Republicans, like Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, I believe. No, she's not Alaska. That's Collins. Murkowski, I can't remember where she's from. Have also voiced opposition, citing federal overreach, which is insane. Supporters include, obviously, President Trump, and saying that it strengthens election integrity. Critics counter that it's a solution to a non-existent problem.
Lisa Murkowski?
Voter turn. Yeah.
Alaska.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I can't remember. Collins is like Maine or something like that.
Yeah, I think
so. But yeah, so now it's got to pass the Senate. And I think that there's been speculation that they're working on deals to try to get that to pass. Hopefully it does. You know, I think it's just
kind of deals. Like we're going to send more money to Ukraine in order for them to pass this kind of deal.
Who knows? But there's very little on the table that I wouldn't like to see. You know, like I'd be willing to put up with a lot to get this passed. Not so much compromise that it would be detrimental in certain areas, but I can think of a few. But I don't know. I don't know what I would be willing to compromise, but
unfathomable that it requires a compromise.
Yeah,
like
it shouldn't even.
Yeah, I remember breaking the logic down on why it's important to have citizens voting for their elected officials only, with somebody who is vehemently opposed to it, and then started dragging the immigration stuff in and conflating a bunch of things. And I was like, so there shouldn't be any borders, right? And we should all just join hands and be happy all the time, agnostic of what the implications may be. Yes, of course, totally. But you support the fact that Ukraine is essentially defending their border from attacking Russians. Is that also correct? Well, of course. So borders do exist then, yeah. Well, expletive.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure we're in the same universe, and we're not. So, yeah. To me, it's bananas. There's even a compromise on the table to get. I understand that's modern politics and shit, but like, how is that not second nature?
Yeah, the cognitive dissonance between that America somehow does not get to have the same roles all the other countries do.
Mm-hmm.
It is prolific. It is a prolific amount of cognitive dissonance that these people cannot seem to wrap their head around, that the ideals and understandings of the laws that they allow for every other country, including Ukraine, including Japan, including anywhere in Europe, anywhere in South America, that they are sovereign and that their borders matter and that they should be honored and respected. And yet those same rules don't apply to the United States. And I don't understand where that snap is. It doesn't seem to take place in reality. So I mean, obviously, because of my worldview, I think that it's a spiritual veil that it doesn't make sense.
Plot convenient for their narrative. So
right.
It just doesn't apply on this side.
Yeah. And I don't know if they're lying to themselves and they, they just lie to us, or if they actually believe it. Do they actually believe this, or are they lying? They know that there is a disconnect there, and that they're applying different rules for different places intentionally. Or do they actually believe that there are different rules for the United States? And I think it comes down to that fundamental philosophy of if you're going to have a conversation with these people, you have to understand, do they believe, if they think that the United States has a different set of rules than every other country, and then we can have a conversation from there, because then we know the ground rules. It's very similar to, and this is kind of a basic generality, but I have a set of ground rules that I can tell you whether or not you lean, left leaning or right leaning, by one basic, simple question. If you strip it all, do you believe people are born bad and have to learn evil, or do you think that people are born good and have to learn evil, or born bad and have to try to be good? And I can tell you which way you politically lean if you are definitive in that answer. Like, some people will waver a little bit and go, well, I don't really know. Let's kind of discuss the ins and outs of that. And we'll kind of dip into it more philosophically. Then you've got fairly a centrist there who is exploring those concepts, but has yet to kind of side on one. But if you can side on either one, the people who say, no, we are born bad and we have to do every day try to do good, that is a right-leaning person. That is a person who is actually somebody who is a far more conservative human being. If you think that everyone is born good and that you environment or choose to be bad, that is your person who thinks that if you voted for Trump, they think
the gun is the problem, not the crime.
Exactly. And or that you voted for Trump, that makes you evil, not different. We don't have different ideas. You're a bad person because you voted for Trump, and you chose that, and that's why it's unforgivable. It's not something that you were born that way, right? So you were born good, you chose bad, which is why they're so vitriolic about it. And so it's very similar in that vein when it comes to the idea of borders and immigration, where they have it just ingrained in them that there is a standard set for the United States that is far different than any other country. And so,
and I also truly believe there's a growing contingent of people that have no fucking idea what any of it is and willfully choose not to learn it. But it is trendy and awesome to hate everything Republican. And so the minute they can latch onto something, then that becomes the new shoutcast point for...
I would say that's a good quarter to a third of the population is what you're describing now. I'm talking about people who are actually engaged to at least some level. Most of these people that you're seeing on video clips are a bunch of idiots in the streets who couldn't point to any of these places on a map, do not understand even the basics of how the law structure or even what our branches of government are. Like the man on the street stuff that you see some of these guys do when they ask the most basic of civic questions to these people. It's astounding how stupid most of these people are. And so, and I don't consider myself an expert, but I consider myself at least aware and knowledgeable. Like, I can keep up with most political conversations. But I am, like, in the minds of a lot of these people, I am a genius when it comes to this stuff. And it's baffling to me.
I've been accused of the same thing, which is false. But that's one of those things, dude, where, it's like, just try to learn about what it is you're talking about, and then also think about the implications of how this will go down on either side, if it passes or if it fails. The one thing I mentioned to your daughter, actually, when she was here, is like, for all the crazy that's been going on specific to immigration recently, I live way closer to the Mexico border than any of the people that I know. Do you know how many ICE trucks or personnel I've seen in the last 2 years? 0.
The big donut hole.
0. And
Yeah.
it's interesting to me that there's just nightly occurrences of this jackboot led Gestapo-esque attack pattern, plaguing these blue cities that are just, it's like all you hear, and I'm wondering how much of it is hyperbolic. It's just like, this is bananas, that there are sects of people similar to Antifa that have their own neighborhood watches where they communicate where ICE is going to be. And like, have you seen this stuff where they're like,
oh yeah,
transmitting locations? And it's just like,
they're taking IDs. They're taking IDs and license plate numbers for anybody crossing their borders,
protecting their borders.
They literally create a
from
border,
ICE.
and
yeah. And to me, that's the most astounding part. Is it's like, I honestly, in truth, don't think it's near as bad as it's being portrayed. For one, just because go see if you can find one. If you take a picture of it, I'd love to see it. But I think this is kind of madness, but I do believe those people will just latch on to that and start reposting it because they're very uneducated with that stuff. It's no different than the guy on the street with the microphone that's like, what's the capital of your state? And the answer is like blue,
Yeah. When was our country founded? Yeah, like I've heard people say that our country was founded in 1982.
Mm-hmm.
That we won our independence from anything from France to the South. And so there's so these people are completely inoperable as humans. They cannot operate on a regular level outside of retail shopping, which is essentially all they're good for, and protesting. And so
these
protesting
people are
something
now
they don't
in
understand.
Political positions of power in some states. We've seen the interviews.
Oh yeah, did you see AOC at that World State? Oh dude, that was incredible.
That was ouchie. The commentary around the Cowboys and stuff. It's like, actually, Spain was kind of involved in that. Think about it, but it's fine. I'm sure Mexico would have something to say about that. Why would they have something to say about that? Yeah, she's a treat.
Yeah, she really is. The gift
and
that keeps
she
on
will
giving
run for
is
president.
AOC. Oh, I can't wait.
It's gonna be great.
The sound bites and the jokes that are gonna come out of that is gonna be off the chain. It's gonna be incredible time. So,
so do you think the SAVE Act is gonna get nuked then because it's so close that I think next stage is just gonna get absolutely obliterated?
I think that the Senate is going to do everything that they can to nuke it, and it has a good chance of getting nuked. It would be a miracle, and I've seen crazier stuff happen, but it would be a miracle if it actually made it through. Mm-hmm. Now, that being said, it sets a precedent, though, and what can happen at that point is it can then get packaged and sent to the states to implement their own state version. So I would imagine next session, the SAVE Act there will be many SAVE Acts throughout the country, mostly obviously in red states. And I'm sure Idaho will have their own version of a state, SAVE Act, which will require you to have identification. If the state already doesn't, this will set the precedent for them to be able to do that on a state level. Now, Oregon, Washington, New York, Vermont, you're all screwed. Minnesota, you're screwed. But for the most part, 26 to 28 states will probably push through their own SAVE Act within a 2-year cycle of
and
this.
I misspoke earlier. I thought this act, which it's not, I thought this is what your wife drove to Boise for recently.
No,
this is something different. So I thought I thought that went through. I was like, oh, cool.
That one, if there was an update for that one, and she would have to correct me, I believe that it has gotten to the floor and it's been read, and it's been that I'm not sure if it's passed yet, So,
Mm.
but I think that it at least made it out of committee. It has at least made it to the floor. It's not getting drored, and it's actually going to see a floor hearing. And that being the case, from what I understand, it has a strong support and the momentum to actually get pushed through not only the House side but also the Senate side, and then on to the governor to sign, which would be real bad if he didn't, because he's up for election. So
Mm-hmm.
he's got already some competitors that are putting their hats in the race, which is hilarious because he's a rhino, and the two that are most notable, I think there's a couple other guys who are throwing their hats in the race too, but the two that are getting the most kind of traction or at least attention is a transgender
Mm-hmm.
uh, guy who is running for governor, and it's hilarious that that's even a
I
thing
saw the
in
ad
Idaho.
reel for that candidate
Yeah,
7 months ago,
yeah.
long time ago.
And then
Yeah.
the other one is the guy who owns the Old State Saloon. His name's Mark, and he's like a full on, like, sure, I agree with him about immigration. I agree with him about that kind of stuff, but he's a full on like racist and holds like
Ugh.
the guys from the backlash down there,
Yeah.
and like has all of the bad people that you wouldn't want to associate with on the quote unquote right side of things.
Mm-hmm.
um he hosts all of them for podcasts and has them come down, and he's not popular in Boise as far as like outside of a very small bubble of kind of white nationalist type of the quote unquote right, and he's the bar for, if Patriot Front actually drank beer, that would be their watering hole.
Yeah.
So and so he's not going to get anywhere either, like but yeah, so far we don't have very many good options, but it's still early. I'm sure somebody will jump in. Hopefully not Bundy again.
Well,
That guy's got too many warrants out in Idaho, and also just got leveled somewhere in the realm, I think $65 million lawsuit that he lost on a Supreme Court level, because it went all the way to the Supreme Court from St. Luke's Hospital, him and one of his buddies. So that just happened this week.
wow.
That's funny.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe you'll luck out and Tim Waltz will move to Idaho and throw his hat in the ring.
Well, we heard Jay Inslee was going to be moving to Hayden.
Yeah, so it wasn't what's her name, Brown from Oregon?
Yeah.
Didn't she buy property out there too?
There's always the rumors, but when you look into the property, unless they're buying it through like shell companies and such, their names aren't popping up in any of the registries for any of that, which my wife is a research monster on, so like she hasn't been able to find anything
sentinel for that stuff.
yeah
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow.
Who knows? I highly doubt he's going to move away from his beloved Minnesota riots. So
the bastion safety city for all things counterintuitive. Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, I didn't have a real big one tonight, but I did want to discuss the actor James Van Der Beek for a minute. James Van Der Beek lost a battle to cancer, I think, on the 11th and passed away. And he had some pretty emotional social media driven messages in promotion of his salvation and his relationship with Christ and the things that had kind of changed his life in really meaningful ways toward the end. And it was really tough to see, especially when you recognize that he had a wife and 6 kids.
Right. And for those that don't know, James Van Der Beek, for people of our age, James Van Der Beek was kind of the poster boy for a generation. He was the lead character in a show called Dawson's Creek,
Yeah.
which was a highly popular TV show, and it was kind of a melodrama show about kind of a coming
he
of
was in
age.
Varsity Blues, I think, too.
He was in
the lead
Varsity
in
Blues.
that. Yeah.
He's done a lot of really great movies, but for those uninitiated,
Yeah.
what brought us into the world of James Van Der Beek was Dawson's Creek. He was Dawson, and which is funny. My daughter actually knows somebody whose kid is in their 20s or something like that, and his name's Pacey, and she was just like, "Oh, how old are your parents?" And then he's like, "This age." She goes, "Okay, that makes sense." And her boyfriend, who's completely unaware of most pop media understandings, looks at her and he goes, why does that make sense? And she goes, because the only person who would name their kid Pacey is somebody who was a fan of Dawson's Creek during that era because of Joshua Jackson's character, right? Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, never heard that name before." And she goes, "Nobody has."
I actually made that reference when they were down here too. I was like, I wonder how many younger and younger parents now are going to have kids named like Daenerys and stuff like that from Game of Thrones. Right. You know what I mean? We had a good laugh about it, but yeah, it was a very big show. And so like in the wake of this, folks opened up a GoFundMe for his wife and his kids. And the reason why is because even with really good insurance and stuff, James noted in recent interviews that a lot of his early contracts in Hollywood were kind of trash, and he never really saw a whole lot of cash from that. And then later on, started to, but then when the streaming era hit, the residuals checks really started drying up for actors all over the SAG. And that was a big deal for like the Screen Actors Guild lockouts and holdouts and stuff like that. It was a big contentious point. But he noted that the cost for battling cancer, even with insurance, was like overwhelming. And he has 6 children and a wife. Now, that sounds like a cool story in that they've raised, where are they at right now? $2.6 million in donations. But people are criticizing this because shortly before he passed, he and his wife bought a ranch in Texas for $4.6 million. And I kind of wanted to address it a little bit and say, hey, just food for thought. With 6 children, are you going to shoot to buy a 2-bedroom condo? Probably not. It's near Austin, and the family secured the funds for the down payment for that $4.6 million home in an off-market sale by having their friends spot them the down payment. And it was done through a trust. So this wasn't, they're not hustling here. They didn't even have enough money for the down payment. But the reason they moved there, according to the surviving family members and representation from his estate, was they really wanted to stop leasing in Los Angeles and left in 2020. And when they left the state, they wanted to trade renting for owning, even if it took them a lifetime to pay off. Kind of true. Yeah. Like, I mean, I have a whatever ass average house, and it was very expensive. And I don't have all the money to buy the house outright and stuff like that. So I think it's a little critical for people to not really look into maybe the whole situation, because I'm not sure how they were going to go about doing that. But I know that $2.6 million is not going to secure that house in full, but it is something that's like, maybe we should look into the situation before slandering it on CNN about how they're hustling people and using his name for, you know, essentially
instead of taking it at face value. Like face value, you're looking at these people and you're like, he was a TV and movie star. Right. Why is he asking people for money?
Exactly.
And what you're not looking into is the fact that the man was an incredible family man with a wife and 6 children. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of kids, man. I had 2, and they're expensive. You know, right. I'm a renter. I don't own, and I make a decent living. Don't make a ton of money. I'm only making so much from my $7,000 paychecks from Israel. Mm-hmm. You know.
That's true.
That's a joke, by the
I'd like to
way,
see
because
your
I make
paycheck as a
zero
Fed.
money. Yeah, my federal paycheck. Um,
Oh
but
my
yeah,
gosh. It's it's
but
one of
it's
those
crazy to.
situations where I was, that was the accusation. I'm like, well, let's look into the accusation. And then the fact that there's a whole bunch of information that's like, no, this was done through a trust that wasn't owned by them, that their friends kind of helped them come up with the money so that they could leave California and raise a family in a house that where each, like, I think it was a 5-bedroom house. So even some of the kids were having to share rooms and stuff, but it had some property and it was a place where they could raise a family that was not Southern California. And that was really
Right.
important in both of them. But when you're entering the market, because I was in that market, truly, and I bought my house in 2022 at the very top of what is the most expensive time to buy a house in American history. I climbed the mountain and stood on the peak. That was also when APRs were at their lowest, right? So, and the way I describe this to people is I knew I was buying an interest rate and it happened to come with a house. Because later that year, when the house prices started cooling some after the big moves around the pandemic, APRs went up. So an example I like to use is a very close friend of mine bought a house that is 1 square foot larger than mine, 1 square foot. So we have basically the same size house. I think we have the same. I might have a larger garage, but I have a backyard. It's not big. You can see all of it at all times. It's not a national forest back there. And my house payment is less than half of his house payment, and I don't pay an HOA either.
Yeah.
And he bought the same year I did, just several months later. That's unheard of, and that's because the prices went nuts. So I can't imagine what a Texas ranch would have cost in Austin around 2020, but that seems kind of low dollar compared to where the market went. You know what I mean? So, I mean, Christ, houses in your area are going for over $1 million pretty routinely, and that's living in the tundra. Yeah. So I don't think it's, if they bought a 65 room mansion that was, $98.5 million that came with a staff, I'd be like, yeah, maybe we could cool it on the GoFundMe and look into this a little harder. Right. But I just thought it was really interesting that somebody in that position could get to a financial state due to an illness where there was insurance involved. That speaks a lot to the healthcare system right now and the prices around it. It speaks a lot to how quick we are to judge people for situations like that. And it puts his grieving wife and kids in the limelight for no reason at all. And I think that's pretty brutal too.
Yeah, I agree. And if anybody had been following up on his last remaining years on this planet, it was something to behold. The man had a spirit and a patience that was unearthly. Mm-hmm. And it was something that you saw a peace in him that was a peace beyond reason, as the Bible describes, and only God can give. And it was apparent in that man. He was a skeleton a month before he died, and you could see that this was not going well, and that we weren't going to have him on this planet much longer. And the man spent his time with his family. He spent his time loving his kids and his wife, and he spent a little bit of time explaining his faith and his recent I think that he'd always had faith, but he had come back to it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, you always find God in prison and when you're sick, right? But I think there was more to it than that with him. And he was inspirational for a lot of people that followed his journey and followed his illness and were rooting for him and suffering with him and watching him bring a clarity and a peace with every time he got in front of that camera and talked about his faith and talked about his family. And it was encouraging to see. And in his world, the rarity of that, the rarity, how separate he was.
I don't think that, turning to religion was fire insurance in the 11th hour.
No.
Because if he had any hope of a continued career in Hollywood, I don't think he would have been as free-spirited about his belief structure on social media as he was, lest he get whisked away with the Gina Carano's and Kevin Sorbos of the world. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, yeah, there's a lot of grief that I have around, we talked about it at the shop about James, and that, there's people who are even in their late 20s, early 30s that I work with that didn't even know who he was.
Right.
But any girl, any woman in their 40s at this point in time either had a crush on him or had a friend who had a crush on him. He was a teenage heartthrob for a long time, but then he grew into a very distinguished man. He didn't play the weird Hollywood games. You never saw him in any controversies or out partying or doing any drugs so he led a life where I think he got married pretty young and decided to separate himself from what is known within the universe of Hollywood. And he led a good life, but I think that it is a tragedy that a man of his stature who had insurance was not able to beat this, and that all of the systems of the world failed him, but the only system that didn't was God. And so, I think that, and he made that very clear in every one of his statements, that his family didn't fail him and that God didn't fail him, but all of the other systems that were built up by worldly means were the ones that failed him. And it was an interesting journey to go along with him. And I hope to shake his hand one day when we get to see him in heaven. Very glad that he got to confess his faith, publicly, and be able to show it through his life. And no, he will be missed. James Van Der Beek, I may be putting on some more obscure Van Der Beek movies. There was a couple of really good ones that I might be putting on, just kind of as a remembrance. But yeah, I think I'll be watching a couple of those this week for sure.
So you had a new conspiracy corner.
I do have a new conspiracy corner. This one's an interesting one.
Yeah.
So time to put on the hat.
For the uninitiated, when these tinfoil hats are on, it means it's conspiracy corner time, and we are not liable while these hats are on for anything that we say while under the tinfoil. All professional and personal credibility is suspended during this segment. Bring it on, conspiracy corner.
How many mattress stores do you think? You live in a giant metropolitan area.
Yeah.
Let's take out Las Vegas. Let's just say
greater Las Vegas around it. Sure.
Yeah. How many, if you were to estimate, how many mattress stores do you think are in your town?
I can do this. 4 or 5. Non-branded ones, like general ones, or also the Serta store. Do you want me to add those in there too? Or that's
sure.
The Sleep Number store. I'd say a dozen. If we're adding the branded ones in that aren't just National Mattresses R Us types of places, I'd say probably a dozen. And that doesn't include the metropolitan area of Las Vegas.
Right. I live in a much smaller area than you do. And we have as many or more than a dozen. Half of Highway 95, you can't go up that strip without seeing mattress stores. We just got a new one, Denver Mattresses. We've got like 3 mattress firms.
Yeah.
We've got like
Purple
5
mattresses,
other.
Sleep Number mattresses. You got everybody.
The average person buys a mattress once every 11 years. That's the average.
I probably fit the average.
Yeah. So that being said, whenever you've gone into a mattress store, the few times in your life that you have, there's nobody else in there. There's one person working and nobody else in there. I've never seen another person in a mattress store. And I've had to buy mattresses for kids. So my average is probably a little bit above the regular because I'm not buying just for me.
It's funny you mentioned that. I recently went into a place that sells safes, like gun safes and stuff. And there were even 3 people in there. And I was like,
yeah,
that's way more than the mattress outlet or whatever. So yeah, you're right. There's always a dude or a gal in there.
Yeah, and I actually, what's funny is that one of my earlier apprentices, Taylor Wooten, his wife at the time, his wife worked as a manager at a mattress outlet or mattress firm or one of those. And we would go over to their house for barbecues. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing more dry and boring than, because it would be a bunch of tattooers from his side and then all of her work friends. And there'd be like 5 or 6 people from her work there, and they're talking shop about mattresses.
Sure.
There's literally nothing more boring than that. So, but I, even going in there, like there was never anybody in there. And so there's been an ongoing conspiracy for a very, very long time that people are like, what is going on with mattress stores? It has to be money laundering. There's too many for this town. There's not enough.
Right.
No one's buying that many mattresses. So it's
like
got to be
hardware stores are going out of business, yet the average human that buys one mattress every 11 years and they're springing up like weeds all over outlet malls.
Every outlet mall in America has a mattress store.
That's true.
So there's been a very long going theory that this is a giant either conspiratorial, like dark money, money laundering kind of situation. Human trafficking has even been brought into the concept that it is just laundering for that. There's a whole bunch of stuff that kind of gets tied into this branded theory that the mattress store conspiracies are about money laundering. But it's actually weirder than that. I did some research into this and I looked into it and I watched a video, and it's actually much weirder than that because it doesn't make sense. There can be a paper trail for as many mattresses as you there's you have to order them. The IRS can track that. You have to sell a certain amount to be able to even out your expenditures. There has to be a money trail for that. There are really good businesses if you are in the money laundering business, such as like in Breaking Bad, they had the car wash. You could say you did, you only did 20, but you could say you did 100. Who's going to know?
Right.
The water's going. Right. Laundromats, stuff like that. Cash heavy service industries tend to be the best way to launder that kind of money. So mattress stores don't fit that criteria. There would be definitely a money trail. So it's not that. It's actually weirder than that, but it's technically legal. So what it actually is that it is basically property acquisition. And it is long-term betting on real estate. And it is it's basically what they do is anytime there's a new strip mall, they have no build out because it's just a flat floor that they put a bunch of beds in and then they put one person in there. They have to sell maybe 5 to 8 mattresses at anywhere between $800 to $1,500 a month. 8 total for them to break even, to pay the employee, the lights, and the rent. It's really all they need to do. So, and they know that. They know that that's all they need to do. But it really is a matter of they'll hold on to a 20 to 30 year lease in this new location, say, we'll buy that, we'll lease this out for 20 to 30 years. So by the time that you get to year 10 or 15, the landlord of the property is looking at these spaces and all the rents are going up, except for that this locked in lease with Mattress Outlet 5 or whatever they're sitting there at a locked in lease rate. Now they can either buy them out heavy cash and say, hey, we want somebody else to be in here.
Right. Because they're rent seeking and they want more rent.
Right. Or they've got to sit on that lease. And they're willing to sit because they've sprinkled 5 or 6 of these around the general area. Right. So that's the short-term money. So basically they come in, and this is happening all over the place, where they'll sit on a lease and then get bought out for an enormous amount. And so on one location, and then they can do that all over the place. Every one of these, let's just say Mattress Firm for the sake of the argument, will have all these all over the place, and then they will sit on that lease and cash in on it after a certain amount of time, where they've really lost no money on it because they've just made just enough to keep the place open. Right. But now they're going to get cashed out for another 15 years of a lease so that the landlord can put a yogurt shop in there and charge them a much higher rent, right? So they'll cash out on that property and then they'll reinvest it in another one and then continue to do that, which is why there's so many of them. But the bigger money comes in when, say, for example, the floor plans are all the same. So they have a square with very flat carpets so you can roll beds in and out. So industrial carpeting and nothing else. It's gutted outside of that. So let's say you have a a first aid clinic or a emergency clinic that they are a bigger kind of up and coming organization that wants to pop up all over the place. So they've got 200 locations they want to put up in the United States. They've got a couple of options. One, they put out 200, they try to seek out 200 different building locations and come up with contracts and leases, 200 different ones, and then have to do build outs on each one of those spaces because this one was a barber and this one was a laundromat or whatever. And so they've got to gut them and then redo it. And it's just a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of moving parts with 200 different leases.
Incredible amount of money, because I work over at Redacted where we deal with commercial rent and real estate like that all the time.
Right, exactly. So, or you can do exactly like the other avenue is new builds for all of your locations and buy the raw property and then do a build up of each one of those locations, which is also wildly expensive.
Yep.
Or you can find a company which they put out their feelers, like Mattress Firm, which has a basic floor plan. Don't need to gut it. You can build up from there very easy, very cheap, with one lease, with one buyout from one buyer for 200 locations around the country. And then they make a ton of money that way. So that's why you have 3 mattress firms and 5 other mattress companies within your general location, which doesn't make sense to the population that you're in. That's why. It is property acquisition, and they're gambling on long-term leases, and they're gambling on sellouts to larger organizations. So it's all about money. It's about holding the space with something that's low cost to put in there. And it's actually kind of genius, and it's legal. So the conspiracy is not really a conspiracy. It's just they've been quiet about it for 25 years now. Wow. Because they've been basically kind of playing the markets with property and putting just cash in their pockets for it. It's actually a brilliant business, and I encourage anybody who is looking for something different, get in the mattress business, because it really is more about property than it is about mattresses.
I mean, if you played the property game and also became a preferred supplier of mattresses to like a hotel, because they burn through mattresses a lot. That'd be pretty
But
good
those
eating for a aspiring mattresseur.
Now, it's interesting that you bring that up, because actually the reason I got onto this topic was because on Sunday, for my first shift for second service at security, the guy I was paired with for roving out front, we were kind of exchanging, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And he owns a mattress company, except for he does not own a mattress
retail
outlet.
Yeah.
Right. He is a warehouse. They do way more business on the retail end,
because you could be the original equipment supplier to a hotel or to a resort or
exactly, which is what he does. He does all of that for larger organizations to hotels and such, but also just online ordering, and they deliver. Nobody really if you can order a mattress online and you can, as a non-retail space, as an online ordering space, you can supply with way more products. And so he can get them from all the different types of mattresses that are out there. And so he accidentally got into this business, and he has a warehouse and some delivery trucks, and he's killing it. He's killing it because he's actually selling mattresses. Mattress Firm is barely doing that.
Right.
They're doing it for the property. So, but yeah, it was just that's kind of what got me onto this, because I made the joke. I was like, so you've heard the joke about, like, or the conspiracy theory that this is all money laundering. And so he's like, yeah, it's funny. I'm not a part of that because I'm not a part of the retail thing. But it is odd that there's so many of them all over the place. And he really didn't even touch into this at all because he didn't know anything about it. So I'm actually looking forward to going back to him and going, I looked into this and this is what's going on.
Yeah, that's insane.
So but yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's far more interesting than money laundering.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah. So that is conspiracy theory, or conspiracy corner of the week, and debunked, but I'm on board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Nicely done. Yeah. I love it. Always had this passive idea that would be like a cool dream come true scenario for me. One of my favorite hobbies, I guess, or activities is cleaning and detailing cars, like my truck, my car, and my motorcycle.
Right.
And for me, it's a place where I can just put in earbuds and like shut the world out for a while and just work on cleaning panels of my cars and things. I really enjoy it. It's like my Zen area. I always have. And I was looking into, there's some mass market products that I like, and there's some like boutique products that I like. And I was looking into white labeling some of the products. Like, well, if I could render that a different color and order a bunch of them on bulk, I could supply a detail shop with something that works really way better than the shit that they get from the wholesalers, But if you get I think if you get distribution through somebody that has a really strong supply chain, like someone that makes shop towels, for example, or microfiber towels or something like that, if they have their own line of products, that would give you access to their chemists. And that's what I really want to do, is work with a chemical team someday on the right kind of shampoo and the right kind of like detailing spray and the right, and make it smell really rad like watermelon, so everyone wants to use it a lot or whatever. But there's some stuff that works way, way, way better for the applications in the areas that I live at than other stuff that I used to buy all the time when I lived in a different geography and things. It'd be really cool to come out with your own supply of stuff that is part of something you really enjoy doing. The problem is, I don't have a storefront, nor would I want to get one. And I have no presence for a brand around why somebody would want to buy that over something they could get from big box place or whatever. But it is really cool. And I think it's possible to do that stuff, because I think some other folks have, but it'd be kind of neat to come out with my own car cleaning related stuff, because I enjoy that. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's always been in the back of my head
for a long time. Speaking of cars,
sure.
Let's let's do the dope.
Let's do the
'Cause
dope. This one's fun.
I got a really fun dope.
Go for
Yeah,
it.
and I picked this one for you because of your love of cars, actually, and it caught my attention on some social media reels that I think my algorithm is just now feeding me nothing but wholesome stuff and kind
Not
of
a bad
cool,
place to
quirky
be.
things. Right? So it's far better when I have to search for the doom and gloom rather than it just being in my constant feed.
Somebody sent me something and I got nothing but an hour of lizard people hiding behind the faces of politicians and Hollywood celebrities. So I was like, oh my God, please stop sending me this stuff. Yeah.
So this week's dope is I have been subjected to some pretty neat channels, and it started off with Meal Ticket Raceway, and they are on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and they have a major YouTube channel, and they have their own website. So you can actually go to their website, and it's Meal Ticket Raceway, and it is an amazing site where this guy has set up this very large room in his house, and top to bottom, it is a raceway for die-cast cars, such as Matchbox and Hot Wheels.
Yeah,
and he's got thousands of them all up on his walls, all like set up all nice and like their own little like garages next to each other all the way around, and this massive track that starts at the top and then goes around the room a couple of times with tight corners, and he's got a whole setup that actually is a release gate that he presses a button down below and it releases him, and he sends, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lanes of cars, and he picks the cars, and he actually has a betting site where inside he's got like computer screens inside of his room that people can like chime in on Discord and actually get in there and actually do betting on these die-cast cars. But he has so much fun with it, and the room is all lit up and designed really cool, and he's got the track is just amazing, and he's got as they cross the finish line, he's got a sensor bumper to see which one hit
like
first.
A trap camera and a finish line stuff.
Yeah,
I have seen this channel before. It's all gravity fed, right? Like there's no machining behind it. It's just open the gate 100%. And the cars. No, this guy's very, very passionate about toy cars, and it looks like endless fun.
It is endless fun. You can watch this race after race, and he commentates on it, and it's an incredible. He's got signs up all over the place. It's incredible. So, that being said, it opened up a whole world of these. Apparently, we've got different types of ones. Like backyard racing is a different type where he has one car on one track, but if you ever played the game Mousetrap as a kid, essentially he has this track that goes all around his backyard, but he's built crazy wooden like ladder towers and uses even water gutters for part of the track where he actually has water going in them, and they float to the next part of the track. He's got dumb waiters that actually pull the cars up to the next level, and all sorts of fun contraptions that are built into this racetrack.
It's like more of an obstacle course than a raceway.
It is, and it's just amazing, all done with die-cast cars. And so that he has a YouTube called Backyard Racing. He's also on all the social medias, so if you go looking for him, you can find that. John Racer 3, Jon Racer, so it's not John, Jon. He has an entire channel based around his love of racing, not just in the die-cast, but also in mini kart racing and all sorts of stuff. He's got a whole lineup of merchandise you can buy, but he does very similar thing to the first guy where he's got 2 cars that race in a very well lit like setup in a room that is really cool, but he has jumps and stuff like that in his, and he's a little bit funnier with his commentary, and he's got pit guys all over the place that the cars will wipe out and kill a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And so he has a little bit more humor, but also does the racing thing, but it has more jumps and tighter turns. And he's a lot of fun to watch, much like the baseball card guys that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Once you find one, you end up getting opened up to a bunch of these different channels. Yeah, so Tiny Track Cars is very similar. I think he's actually one of the guys that actually has a similar theme to John. But yeah, he's got his own YouTube channel and social media accounts, and man, just a lot of fun. You can spend hours watching these guys commentate on different types of diecast cards, sliding around tracks and crossing finish lines, and people making bets on them, and it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of creativity into it, and these guys are just pursuing a hobby that kids have been, I remember being 2, 3, 4 years old and loving Hot Wheels, loving those little cars and having my favorite one. And this one's my favorite looking one, but this one's the fastest one, and it kind of brings
we
you
used
back.
to have like the color changing ones depending on the temperature, or if you dunk them in water and stuff. And then later on, they came out with micro machines. I don't know if you remember those, but the little ones.
Oh, I do.
And we used to shoot those with rubber bands off a flat surface, like a dining room table, into a book cover and see how far we could jump them into the living room, like make it over the couch kind of thing. And it was like an entire day was spent just rocketing cars in a book.
Yeah, and you get to, it's tangible. It's actual fun that kids used to have that wasn't on, one of these screens.
Right.
And what the irony is watching it on a screen, somebody else play with something tangible.
Full circle where you're like, that looks like fun. I'll enjoy it from behind my screen on my couch. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you can tell that these guys are getting tangible joy out of this, right? And so,
the community's big. It's really much bigger than you think when you look at like the comments, the reference videos, it really is quite a universe out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a whole diecast car community that is robust and full of joy. There's a lot of people out there just really enjoying collecting and racing and being a part of this community together. And it's pretty interesting. So
what was your favorite Hot Wheel when you were a kid?
Oh, it was some red, probably Corvette that I had, like at the time. I mean, it was the early 80s. So, we didn't have like a lot of the Lamborghinis and so it was probably either a red Mustang or a red Corvette at the time. So, but
I had a Camaro that I loved, and I had a fire truck that I really loved.
Yeah,
like the fire truck was really cool, and it was pretty rudimentary by today's standards because child of the 80s and 90s as well. But that was my favorite because the truck had a little like part of it would move like that far, and it was supposed to be the ladder that was kind of just pinned loosely on the top. And just wheels, and that was all it had. But I thought that was the coolest shit. That one and a little Corvette as well, or Camaro, which was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the other things that, and I'll probably touch on this on another time. It just occurred to me that I haven't added it to my list. There's a channel, and I'll find out all the details, and I'll do an episode on it later on down the road. But there's this family that has a basement, and they had to do some construction on one of the under walls. I think they had some flooding or whatever. And instead of hiring a crew to come down, they kind of went, well, it's not dire and it's not hurting anything. We got all the flooding out, but we just need to kind of move out all this dirt and create a bigger area here. But we're not in a rush. So they bought a whole bunch of RC, like high-end RC, like scoopers and dump trucks and loaders and all of the like dozers and all of this. Yeah. And it's how they spend their time in their basement, and they all just sit down there on like on lawn chairs and they just sit there with their remote controls, and they have it all set up where they slowly dig it out and they bring it over to the loader, and then the loader takes it out through a tunnel outside and dumps it, and they bring it back, and the whole family, like the wife's like, I know my husband isn't cheating on me because he's always down in the basement, and the guy's just like, instead of playing video games, he's doing real life, like he's he's
an earth relocation specialist, and he's doing it with style.
Yeah, and the neighbors come over, and everybody's all involved in it now, and the kids are all involved, and they've made some heavy progress. I saw one, and I didn't see one for a little while, and then I was like, "Whoa, they've actually done a lot of work down there." But yeah, it's pretty incredible. But yeah, I'll do one on that one, so I can give you all the details on it later. But
nice.
Yeah, these race car channels are just a kick in the pants, and I highly recommend, like, if you just need to turn your brain off for a little bit and just watch grown men have fun with race cars. This is a good time,
and it's much less expensive than real racing, so
yes, for sure.
Much less. Awesome.
But yeah,
all right, so you watched Predator Badlands this week.
I did.
You said it was your first 10 megger. No, I'm just kidding. Talk to me about this movie, because I am still creeped out by the Predator. I'm still creeped out by Alien, but there's some of them that I can watch and others that I just can't. Like, I was, by multiple sources, steered away from Alien Romulus, for example.
Right.
But we watched the Gen Z versus the Gen Xenomorph show all the way through, and the newest Predator ones aren't as bad as like the original ones for like shock and scare value for me, and maybe that's due to age, but I didn't get around to this one because it's not on any of the channels I subscribe to at the moment in time. But what did you think of Predator Badlands? How did it go?
Okay, I was really excited because I hadn't watched a movie up until last night, and so it's 1 a.m, and I finally get to bed, and I go to look, and it had just dropped, and I was excited because I've been waiting for this one, and I had heard some good things, and so I was pretty excited for Predator Badlands because of the nostalgia that I have. I'm a huge Predator fan. I'm a huge Aliens fan. One of the earlier movies that was on repeat at my house, because my stepdad was, anything Arnold was A-okay. Violence, three-tittied aliens.
And you're watching this at a comically inappropriate age, probably.
A comically inappropriate age, because it didn't matter. As long as Arnold was in it, it had a green light in our house for whatever reason. Sure. We were made to close our eyes or not be able to see most other rated R things. Yeah. But for some reason, Arnold movies got a pass. And
I think that's fair.
Right. Yeah. So I have very early fond memories of the first time I ever saw Predator, and it became quickly one of my favorite movies, the 1987 Arnold Schwarzenegger classic, right? And it's a beautifully done sci-fi horror movie, and it's very, 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 very good. And the preceding Predator movie, the ones that came after it, all the Predator movies that came after it, increasingly kind of went up and down, up and down, up and down. And you were getting Predator lore, but it wasn't always great. Yeah. I didn't even really like Predator 2. It was set in LA with Danny Glover. I always thought that Danny Glover was an odd choice for an action hero. He didn't make sense in this film to me. And it was set in kind of like Vato gangland future LA. And it was hard to follow. It was a weird movie.
Just wasn't Lethal Weapon enough. Yeah,
it wasn't Lethal Weapon enough. And then you end up getting into, I think they did the Alien versus Predators next, and those were they were okay, but they were kind of PG-13 and cheesy. And then they started really trying to focus on making Predator movies again, and they came out with Predators, where they sent all of these people to a planet together.
That one,
and it was kind of, and I actually really
Lawrence Fishburne and some other dude, Adrian Brody. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually kind of liked that one. It was a fun movie. I liked all the people. I think that was
Premise
one
was
of the
cool.
earlier. Yeah, and it was great. It was what it was. It was enjoyable to me, and then we got like the Predator, which was like a current year story of a kid, a military guy gone wrong, but he's really good at heart. And there's a bigger predator that comes in to take on the other predators, and a government agency that's all involved in it. And the story kind of went a little wonky halfway through. It had potential, and then it just kind of went weird. And I don't really even remember much of it because it was that weird.
Yeah.
And then we got Prey, which was a accident. It was a made for Hulu movie that they allowed this guy Dan Trachtenberg to write and direct, and he decided to set it in a different time frame of like early 1800s Western United States in a Native American tribe, and made a female protagonist, a young female protagonist. And I don't think I've enjoyed a Predator movie as much as that since the first one. I think they did a really good job with it of making him a monster, making him scary, making him, the way that he was in the first one, where he was a mystery, and they were trying to figure him out. And as an audience, if you're following, you now know certain things about the Predator, but he's still overall a mystery, right? He's still, you understand kind of their motivation, and that they come from like a hunting warrior class that they just try to find the biggest. And you've picked this up over time, right? And that's their highest marks of their society is being the biggest, best hunter. But they stuck to that, and they didn't remove you from that. They just went, this is the scary thing that these people aren't familiar with, and they are all dying because of it.
Yeah, this is what it is. This is what they do, and this is the new environment they're doing it in. Enjoy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was enjoyable. Now comes Predator Badlands, and I've heard that there was an animated version that came out that everyone really loves, that kind of teed off of Prey.
I did watch that one. It was very good.
Okay.
It's called Killer of Killers.
And it's set in 4 different timelines, right?
Yes. And yes, and there's a protagonist for each of those timelines, and then it culminates at the end of it. And it's very, very clever the way they did it. It's also very, very good. And I don't like animated stuff, and it was very good.
Yeah. And that's why I think I've avoided it, was because of the animated.
Well, and I think I text you when I saw the trailer for Badlands, and I was like, wait a minute. I thought you said to me that Aliens versus Predators was kind of a sideshow spinoff thing and wasn't technically regarded as canon. And you said that's true. I was like, well, isn't the synth from this trailer, isn't the synth from the Alien universe? Isn't that property of Wayland Enterprises or whatever? And you were like, yes, also true. And now they're combining franchises, it seems, going forward. So now they're trying to retcon them into canon at certain points in time. I assume this is the first time they're launching with that, considering the trailer. But, if you still discount Aliens versus Predators and that coalition of coalescence of universes, this is the first time they're doing that on the big screen, I think. Is that right?
Well, not necessarily, because Weyland-Yutani was a major part of the Alien versus Predator, the 2 other movies that they put in there.
I agree, but I'm saying if we remove those from canon, and now they've made the decision to make them canon, this is the first canon line introduction of those 2 universes in the same spot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So
that's right, because I was confused when I saw it, and I was like, I thought that was Alien, and you were like, give it a minute.
It is, yeah. Well, and being that they were both made by Fox, they tie into the same universe. And then what X-Men, really tied them together, what actually really tied them together was Dark Horse Comics in the late 80s, early 90s, put together an amazing Alien versus Predator series, and it was incredible. It was set off planet on a like colony, and the colonial marines were a part of it even, and it was really well done. Neither of the Alien versus Predator movies followed the comics,
Right.
even in the slightest. So, but this movie, Predator Badlands, is set on the planet that the predators come from, and they're called
Yautjas.
like Yautjas. And so the Yautjas planet is a hard, desolate place, right? And made for sharpening your skills.
It may amuse you to know why I know that off the top of my head, but go on. Well, I was going to ask you that question, and I was like, I can Google this before I ask my brother. And what that led me to was a 1.5 hour long YouTube video of the most autistic dude on earth going, oh, if you look at the Yautjas, there are 5 different variant subspecies of them. And he just goes on with like the entire encyclopedic illustrated history of Predator. And I just kind of was like cooking dinner at some point, still watching my phone, like, I'm just going to let this roll. Let's learn about the Predators and stuff. So yeah.
Well,
that name just kind of stuck out.
That guy might have been the guy who ultimately wrote this because
it was intense and an hour plus.
This movie was an incredible, fun, action-packed, great creatures, great like environments, fun movie with awesome humor and all of the things you want in kind of a sci-fi action flick, much in the vein of like a Riddick movie or something to that effect, right? It just wasn't a Predator movie. And I kept having to remind myself that it was a Predator movie because you're not supposed to sympathize with the Predator. He's the monster. This whole thing from the beginning all the way through, you're sympathizing with this guy. And he is now a guy. He's not an alien monster with a different set of morals and ethics that we have as humans. He has a whole set of morals and ethics that are very human. And they're almost Vulcan-like, where they have it like they're shutting off their emotions because they're weaknesses, right?
Are you serious? That's terrible.
But that's why they do it. But really, they feel these things deep down, right? And you can manage to get them out of them in extreme scenarios, right? It takes you out of the idea that this is a monster, and it makes you put you on the side of him. And every time I kept reminding myself of that, I was uncomfortable with that. I was like, no, like
we're departing from the essence of what this franchise is supposed to be.
Exactly.
By every minute of this film. Yeah.
It's giving Hannibal Lecter a sympathetic background.
Sure. But just hear him out. He got picked on as a kid. So?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's basically where this starts off, is he's this runt of, and his older brother is much bigger and is training him to be a killer, right? And he's almost ready to take his final, hunt to become
ready for the trials.
The trials of the Yautja. And so,
God, what a tired plot line too. Sorry, but
right.
Ugh.
No, you're right. And so then when he picks, his brother's helping him pick what his final hunt is going to be, because it's got to be impressive, right? And there's this planet that has this unkillable beast that anybody who's tried has died. No one has come back from getting that one. So they call it the unkillable beast. And he goes, that's the one. I'm going to do that one. He goes, you can't. You'll die. You're a runt. And he goes, nope, I'm going to do it. And they decide that. And just as Dad rides up on his motorcycle, and Dad comes out with his white dreadlocks, walks up and goes, why is he still alive? Older brother, you were supposed to kill him during training because he's bad for our clan and our family because he shows weakness. He goes, can't do that. He goes, you have to do it. That's the rules. So he goes to put him, and they tie him up. His dad ties up the younger brother, puts him under, and his brother goes to put him under the knife, the sword, and he's panicking, like, don't kill me, don't kill me. And the brother does the honorable thing and then releases him, kicks him into their ship, their flying home, kicks him into the flying ship home, and then turns and starts battling his father and tells him, you gotta go get your big creature. And then in the meantime, the dad kills the older brother for dishonoring him, and then he gets shot off to the planet that has the big bad, where he crash lands and then starts experiencing all of these, like the Badlands, which is all these,
Can't get through a sci-fi without a trauma dump, huh?
Right, exactly. So now he's all angsty and pissed as he's avoiding all of the weird alien flora and fauna that is out to kill him, because everything on this planet will kill you, from the vines to spearing like cluster flowers and all of these different type of things, where within 15 minutes of him getting to this planet, he happens to find a severed at the waist synth, and played by Elle Fanning, right?
Okay.
And he C-3POs her after a series of events onto his back as a helper tool, and she helps guide him because she has her own thing that she wants to do, and
which is undoubtedly nefarious, because no matter how much we like synths, they're always up to no good at the end of everything.
No, she's a good one. It's her twin sister that's the bad one.
Oh.
So
For now.
So, but she wants to go see her sister because they got beat up as a group that got sent to that planet to collect data, got beat up by the exact monster that he's looking to hunt.
Who's the production house for this? Was it Disney? Jesus.
I think so, because Disney owns Fox now. So, but so then he goes into this whole thing where he finds this little buddy creature that helps him against another big beast, and he doesn't want it to follow him, but it falls in love with him. Well, turns out that this big creature that he's supposed to kill, this unkillable beast,
just a misunderstood mom looking for her eggs or some shit. Are you serious?
Exactly. So he can't kill it, and now the big bad is the twin sister and her cadre of synth dudes that all look exactly the same. The twin sisters played by Elle Fanning as well.
This deserves some form of soundbite. Hang on, I'm just gonna hit a random one. You get a Michael Jackson soundbite.
Yeah.
I don't know, Michael.
So
except I do. I called it. Really, it was like a angry mother type of archetype of the big bad. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude.
So, and that's it. It was fairly basic in plotline, fairly easy to kind of predict what was going to happen.
Sure.
The ending is fairly cut and dry. You know exactly what he goes back home with honor. All that stuff. It was fun to watch. It was a really visually fun movie.
Yeah. So are every single one of the Star Wars visually.
Right. Popcorn flick, but it wasn't a Predator movie.
And was this a PG-13 film? Or did they
PG-13.
Yeah.
No, it's PG-13.
Boy.
And
yikes.
they really, but I mean, some of the humor was great, except for then you realize that you're laughing along with a Yautja.
Right.
You're like, oh, he's quirky, or that surprised him. He's got facial expressions that are like something that you don't see on Yautjas, right? So,
well, you see one, and that's usually when they're screaming, and they're like, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that you're not supposed to be humanizing this thing. You're not supposed to be he's not supposed to be endearing. You're not supposed to be rooting for him. He's supposed to be the bad guy. and because he's a murderous creature
Mhm.
that it doesn't care about you, he wants to yank out your spinal
Yeah,
cord.
no, they're death incarnate. That's their job.
Yeah.
That's their one
Yeah.
function.
So now we've got this touchy-feely PG-13 version of a Yautja that we went on a ride with that was all adventure and no horror. So it was
Tough, man.
a little rough. Like, it got 7.3 on IMDb,
Mhm.
and I think that the audience for Predator has now become too young to understand what Predator was meant to be. And so I would give this probably 6.5 megs tail end. So because I could watch it again for the visuals. It was kind of fun to watch, and the beasts were neat and stuff. But and it was kind of imaginative and creative with the way that they wrote the environment and how he used the environment ultimately to help him. But it had pockets of creativity wrapped in visual fun
Sure.
and antics,
It-
but
Disney,
Predator
Disney,
movie,
Disney.
it was not.
So I guess
So-
the last and possibly most important question is, do they allude to or outright say where this film is supposed to take place in the canon timeline? Reason I ask is this supposed to be happening before, during, or long after the events of the Alien show that
It has to be
Hulu
after.
just did? It has to be after? Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know where it kind of falls in canon wise, but
Interesting.
actually we could probably Google it. I'm curious now because I need
Well,
to
because there's,
know.
I mean, obviously, there's from last year to now, there's an awful lot of hype around that Alien Earth show for that was on Hulu or whatever. Now, Hulu's no longer a thing officially. I believe that also folded into Disney, so you can see where this is going, right? Like, clearly, they're
Yeah.
going to try and build off of a franchise that they've acquired that they think has enough legs to milk the old money cow a little further on with a new audience. So it explains why they're architecting these movies or shows this way. But that's why I was wondering if this is supposed to simultaneously occur. That also then means somewhere on their roadmap probably exists a renewed Aliens versus Predators type of thing, just done their way.
Okay,
would be my guess.
Here is the timeline.
Okay.
Apparently, Predator Badland is set in the distant future, specifically placing it at least 300 years from the modern day. It is considered to take place further into the future than any previous Alien or Predator film, likely occurring around or past the year 2400.
Okay.
So it is a distant future movie. So,
well, synths are obviously still a thing, so that means there's going to be a lot upcoming in the Alien side to get to that point.
Well, and that was the one thing about this movie is that the entire occupancy of the army that Mother sends, which is now the name of the sentient AI that controls Weyland Yutani, is named Mother. She sends an army to go collect data from this planet. Specifically from that beast because of its regenerative properties, that they want to study it so that they can create regeneration.
Yeah, they're always after the Fountain of Youth, those guys.
Right.
Yeah.
So they sent an army of synths, and they were all there was 300 of them, and they were all the same model guy. And then the two girls were the leaders of it, right? So the Elle Fannings, and but the rest of them were all the same dude, but there was 300 of them. So they're definitely still in mass production, in mass use, and they were highly capable of physical combat. So, yeah. But
Wow.
yeah, so a little bit disappointed in the story and of them kind of, heroizing
Sure.
Yautja rather than making him the, I would have even been okay with the idea of making him kind of a reluctant, kind of in a desperate situation, but you'd really have to write it properly in order for him to do the right thing. His choice is to kill in every capacity. There's never a time frame when those things aren't dangerous to be anywhere near, right? So
Yeah.
they're
Plus
and
the plot lines as advertised are so tired. I mean,
yeah,
a real storyteller lets the audience believe their reality has unfolded for several months before collapsing it into a nope, just joking, you were dreaming. Now you can play the reality that you didn't know existed, and then end it with some kind of twist like
you dick.
like somebody you've been protecting the entire time turns out to be the evil mastermind behind all this bullshit. That's how you do it.
Okay, for our listeners and watchers, this is inside baseball. We play our weekly online, like we play a tabletop game together, and it's a vampire game, and he's been DMing this the whole time, and there's 3 of us that play, and he's the DM, so 4 of us total. But he threw us for a loop, not once but twice.
We concluded the alpha storyline last night. That's why I'm making
fresh.
Jokes. Yeah.
I'm still nursing those wounds, and he's like, just poured some lemon juice on it for the sake of the podcast. That's fun.
Well, I released the companion basically synthesized thing in our group chat around it for any new player activity. It's like, this is what has occurred up to this point in a super brief format, and it's still like 5 pages long. But no, it was a fun story to tell. I'm just giving you shit.
It was.
But
yeah. So yeah, that's my take on the Predator franchise and where it's going. And so basically, Disney has Gen Z'd our xenomorphs and has made a puppy dog out of our predators. So yeah,
tea time with the Yautjas
Disney.
Coming soon, 2027.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So.
Oh boy. Well, let's do it, man. We got an Overlord tip. It's number 17. This is a good one. It's concise.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
It is. You oftentimes, you see in any capacity, whether it be in real life or in fiction of any kind, there's tends to be an overlord, and he tends to have a council around him, whether it
some
be
advisory section of something or nearby, often
whether it be military or wizards or whatever, right? But there's always some type of cadre of people that he has surrounded himself by that almost every time they give advice that he ignores.
Yeah.
And that he goes, no, I know better. I'm going to do my own thing. Ultimately, it seems to be historically, or even in fiction, to be the wrong move when they do not listen to advice, right? True. So, number 17, when I employ people as advisors, I will occasionally listen to their advice.
It's so beautiful. And you need to. I mean, so basic. You don't want to be another Nicolas Maduro. Like, sorry, that name just came out. You've got to find trustworthy people, and if you hire them on, listen to them from time to time. I think it's great. It's great.
Pearls of wisdom come from odd places, but they also come from places that you hired.
Right,
You hired these people for the fact that at some point in time, they showed some modicum of wisdom and understanding of the situation, and sometimes it takes a different set of eyes or a different set of understanding or a different perspective to look at a scenario and go, but what if? Consider that what if. Consider it for just a second and go, you know what? that actually is a better chess move than the one that I. So don't let your ego get in the way
It's
every
true.
time. Sometimes you got to stomp those down and go, that's a dumb idea. But other times you have to be discerning and understand that sometimes people are going to bring to you information that you may not have considered. And instead of allowing your ego to get in the way, go, hey, Jack, that's a really great idea.
Yeah.
And then maybe listen to that person. Incorporate it if you have to, or take it whole hog. But
And
at some point,
this happens in reality all the time. Like I get paid to do this over at Redacted in real life.
right.
And on occasion, on a frequent occasion, I will hear years later, you know what? You were right about that. This didn't work out very well. And I used to kind of get frustrated with it because it would go back to Overlord tip number 17, which is, hey, if I employ people as advisors, occasionally I'll listen to their advice. But then I adopted a new mantra for that really pours cold water on any disappointment. I now have become quite fond of saying, well, hey, I'm like Evel Knievel. I get paid for the attempt. Like I'm still making money. I'm going to try and give you the right answer or some advice on topic. And it, you know, you don't want to listen to it and it costs a ton of money to untangle those wires and do it a different way later. That's on you, but I still got paid for the attempt. So it helps me sleep at night sometimes, that new mantra, because you got to listen to you got to listen to your advisors here and there.
Here and there.
Yeah.
Now, don't have to buy it wholesale, but every once in a while, you know, there's good ideas that you didn't have.
That's right.
And that you should implement. So
awesome, dude.
So that's number 17.
I love it. Anything coming up for you? I mean, you just survived. I know you got another Friday the 13th next month, I think.
Yeah. We're just
anything else
resting up
coming
for the
up?
next one.
Big things to advertise or talk about, or
not really. I'm trying to, you know, my 21st wedding anniversary is coming up.
That's right.
I'm hoping to find a warmer climate to take my lady than this. Even though we haven't really had that bad of a winter, it's been pretty mild. We got a little bit of snow last night, but we haven't had a lot of snow this year. So, but it's still cold, and I would like to take her someplace to warm up her bones. And
nice.
But yeah, so outside of that, I don't know. I'm just kind of, like I said, my work week got packed, and so I'm just kind of focused on that. And yeah, that's about it for me. How about you?
Nah, not a whole lot going on. I want to say I had something coming up, but my calendar's not in front of me, and if it's not on the calendar, it does not exist. So
that's correct. Same.
That's kind of my life right now. So. But yeah, other than that, we survived or are surviving a windstorm, and it didn't knock the pot out. So I think we will say adieu for this evening, and we will see y'all next time.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
All right, everybody. Have a great night.